This is an interesting one. Is it better to start with a business loan or bootstrap everything?
Even if you're starting your own business, right? And people are like, oh, it takes time to build clients. It takes time to do all this. And it can, but you have to weigh the risk versus the rewards.
All right, Gummi. Welcome back to Start It or Scrap It.
How are you today?
Doing good.
Finally have a name.
We finally have a name. I'd like to introduce it as Start It or Scrap It. This is so cool. I love it. Either, we're going to go through ideas, and we'll tell you either start it up or, maybe not and get rid of it. Or, no matter what the idea is, you should be doing it anyway. But if you're not going to do it, just don't bother. Just scrap it and move on to something else.
Correct.
So, very cool. So, how you been? How was golf today?
It was good.
Who was there with you?
Joe Cover from Digital One, Mike Bound Beverages, Jay London, College Advice Guy.
Oh, Jay was there?
Oh, yeah.
Is Jay I didn't realize Jay played golf.
He's a riot.
Oh, I know that.
He is a riot. No, it gets worse on the golf course.
Really?
I'm telling you.
Oh, because he's unfettered. He can say whatever he wants on the
100%.
golf course. You can tell he's very reserved, like when he was with people.
Yeah.
But on the golf course, I can see him going off.
Oh, yeah. It's hysterical.
Is he a good golfer?
Yeah. I mean, geez, he shot a 90 today. So that's not bad.
That's not bad. That's fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
That's not, yeah. It's good. It's good.
Compared to me.
The reality is it's only like, 10% of golfers ever break 100? So, if you break 100, you're in the top 10%.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a relatively high number. Or low number.
Low number. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I want to say it's 100. But
I wonder how many break 80.
I read a stat on it. Something like 3%.
Wow.
So I shot a 78 at the course we were just playing.
Of course you did.
Not of course. It's my best round at that course ever. So
where are we at?
Pinecrest.
Pinecrest. Okay.
Yeah. So I shot that not this weekend, but the previous weekend.
Oh, okay. How'd you do today?
Not too hot. Allergies were killing me.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's like late October. We still have allergy issues right now. It's like it's still 75, 80 degrees out.
Crazy.
When in past years, like when we were kids, it was snowing.
Yeah,
at this point.
It should not be 78 degrees today.
No, it should not.
Like, what was it, 81 yesterday?
I can understand maybe a day here and there where it's warm. Like, I remember back in the early 2000s, we were on this... this just adult football team, just two-hand touch kind of thing. And it was the middle of December, and it was like 75 degrees. Yeah. But it was just that one day, and the next day it snowed.
Yeah, it was the same thing happened a few years ago, where on Christmas Day, I was outside grilling in a T-shirt.
Right.
It was this is weird.
Which is okay. I'm all right with that. But it's been a week of this. It's like really, really warm weather.
So next week is supposed to be in the 70s again.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And we're in October.
So, all right, yeah, you're right. Allergies are going to keep going. And the worst part is they keep charging me to cut my lawn. Usually it's done by early October, but now they got to come out every week still. All right, let's see what we have on the agenda today. Oh, I'm curious. Let me read this one. This is probably more of a legal issue, but let's say very long. I'm going to paraphrase. Friend of former boss blackballed me from a proposal over suspicions of my misrepresenting myself. Should I confront? Let's see. 42-year-old man left a small 13 boutique agency in 2021. He was there for 15 years. He was the executive vice president with the head of, let's see. He handled a lot of different responsibilities, he said. All right, let's see. Left on good terms. He was hired by a contractor after he left. He honored his non-compete. Did not pursue any agency clients, so no solicitation, non-competition issues. He provided a proposal to an inbound prospect. Let's see. No longer with the former agency. They wanted to hire him as an independent contractor. As part of their due diligence, other estimates were collected and costs shared with their board of directors. A member of the board who owns a competing small business, and is friends with his former boss, raised questions about my ability to perform the work and suggested to the entire board that I had been misrepresenting myself and my contribution. Oh, I see. So the board member is friends with the former boss and doesn't want to give him the business, wants to give the boss the business. I was never invited to present to the board, so all this happened without my knowledge. As a result, which was a high priority, has been shelved and will likely be put out for an RFP again in a few months. And he works in reputation man. Oh, Joe should maybe know Joe. My friend Joe knows him. He's a solo entrepreneur, and he's not afraid of critical feedback and recognizes that scrutiny is commonplace. So it sounds like to me that the guy that was on the board, knew the former boss. Didn't want this kid or guy, a 42 kid, didn't want this guy getting the job because he either wanted to give it to the former company or just didn't like the fact that he worked for the former company and now was on his own. Is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I don't really see any legal issues there, but that kind of stuff is very typical. It happens. It happens quite often. If you're working for a company, you're getting there, you're meeting their people, meeting all their associates, et cetera, everyone that works with them. And eventually you're going to run into them again. If you stay in the same industry, in the same part of the world, you're going to run into them again. And this kind of stuff is going to happen. It's an unfortunate but very realistic.
It's part of business.
Yeah, it's part of business. Yeah, move on.
Yep.
Just move on. And blackballed may be the right word for it. And there's nothing you can do about it. It just is what it is. Right? We've all experienced stuff like that.
It's shitty, but it's part of what we go through.
It's like relationships, right? You date a girl, right? So let's use it from a guy-girl perspective. You date a girl, break up, meet somebody else who knows that girl. She's not dating you. It's just not going to happen.
Nope.
Right? Oh, maybe in some cases, but in most cases, she's not going to date you if that relationship didn't end well. So even if it did end well, they're usually not going to date you. The bro code, what they call the bro code, right? Boys don't date.
Correct.
Their friends, girlfriends,
Yes.
or ex-girlfriends.
Yes.
It's the bro code, right?
Correct.
I'm sure not everybody follows it, but most guys do.
Yes.
So.
And if they don't, there's trouble a lot of times and hard feelings.
That's right.
So that's what this is.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. It's hard feelings probably somewhere, and unfortunately, it's just how it is. So from a legal standpoint, again, not really much happening there, but from a business standpoint, very very typical. So you're lucky. He's even lucky he found out why, or he's lucky that he found out that the guy on the board was friends with the ex-boss.
Yep.
Otherwise, you'd be hanging forever not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
I've had times before when I had a marketing agency where it'd be almost a year later, we keep being strung along. Oh, yeah, we're going to make a decision. We're planning for this whole thing to go down, and then it never happens. And we never even get an answer. They never even say no. They just stop communicating at some point.
Yeah,
that happens. I'm sure that happens to you too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You talk to people, and then all of a sudden they just fall off a cliff.
For no reason.
Yep. You're like,
you never know why.
That was interesting.
Yeah, sometimes they get a better offer. Sometimes they hear something about you.
Sometimes they resurface like 6 months later.
Yeah, that happens a lot too. That happens in law quite often, actually. I'll get a call from someone. Yeah, look, let's say they're looking to start a business. I'm looking to start a business. I'm going to do this, that, or the other. And I'll be on the phone with them for a half hour, an hour maybe. Sometimes they'll come in the office. It'll be 2 hours, and we'll strategize this, that, or the other. And then silence.
Yep.
And I'll reach out to them. We have a 3-5-7 rule here. We'll reach out to you in 3 days, 5 days after that, and 7 days after that. And if we don't hear from you, you don't want to hear from us anymore, I guess.
Right.
So we stop contacting you. So after that 3-5-7, then every once in a while, 4, 5, 6 months later, sometimes 2 years later,
they pop up.
They'll pop. And the funny thing is, and I know you get this too. The funny thing is, they expect that you know what they're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. I met with you, 8 months ago about this, that, or the other, and you said that we'd be. Sure. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe.
Oh yeah. Happens a lot.
That happens all the time. So, I'm sorry to. I didn't say his name earlier. It's unstereotyped. I'm sorry that this happened to you, but this is very typical, very common in any business. It doesn't matter, law, marketing, what's he doing? Reputation management, right? Doesn't matter. It's going to happen.
No.
So that's the unfortunate reality when it comes to business. And guess what? You're going to do it to somebody at some point too. Correct. Completely unintentional, I'm sure, but it happens. It'll happen.
Yeah, you serve on a board and you're like, oh, I heard of this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we should hire him.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're on a board, a lot of times you don't need more than, there's something off and I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And that's enough to nix a contractor.
Even if you're not on a board, but you're a decision maker in some process.
But like he was saying, like it was a board.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon.
So So good luck to you. Sorry it's not going to work out, but that's move on to other things, and you'll trust me. You'll find the bigger, better ones, and there's always other fish in the sea, as they say, right?
Correct.
That applies to a lot of things, not just relationships.
It's life.
Before we keep going, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
Oh, and the like button. The like button's our friend.
The like button is our friend. Yes, we do like the like button, so please hit that too.
And thanks for the support. Let's keep it moving.
All right. Busy Contribution 20 says, should you formalize your business before starting? All right. I think the answer is yes. Let's see what he's talking about. Hello, I would like your opinion. Some people say that the first thing to do is find clients and start selling before even formalizing the business, renting offices, or taking care of other administrative tasks. What do you think?
It depends on the business.
Go ahead.
If you're signing any type of contract or doing anything that requires legal things, make sure the business is officially started, on paper at least.
And what do you mean by started?
Meaning that you have your LLC filed, you have all your legal paperwork in place as a legal entity.
Okay.
But no, you can absolutely go out and sell it as long as there's no contracts for it being signed.
Okay.
With a delayed delivery, and then the company that you start is going to be the one actually delivering it.
Okay. Yeah. And you're mostly correct on that. There's one small caveat. So before the business is formed, you are what's called a promoter for the business. That's the legal term for it. You're a promoter of the business. You're going out there and you're drumming up business. Like you said, go sell, sell, sell. But do not deliver any product yet. That's the difference. Now, if it's a product-based industry, don't deliver any product until the LLC is formed. In fact, don't even accept payment or deposit until the LLC is formed.
Don't sign the
you
contract.
can gain interest. Well,
Right.
well, if I go to the store, I have to sign a contract to buy something,
Well,
right?
but like, let's say you sell something to Walmart, they literally.
Oh, that's a different story.
Correct.
But if I go, but if I want to sell something
Yeah.
online, I don't have contracts
No.
for that, right? So you're a promoter until the LLC or corporation is formed. So if you have a product-based business, don't take deposits, don't deliver anything, but you can promote the heck out of it while you're to see what kind of interest there is.
Yeah.
If you're a service-based business, same thing, but don't go out and start doing any services. And most services you're going to need a contract anyway. But you would think. You would think.
I was going to say.
I had a home improvement contractor contact me the other day, talk about, hey, I want to start my LLC. I've been in business for a little while for myself. Well, what's a little while? Well, 6 years. 6 years. And you're just getting your LLC done? Well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I do it on the side. Okay. And are we talking small contracts? Well, the largest one I did was like $100,000. And you don't have an LLC? And he's like, so we went into why that's a bad thing. And for those of you who don't know, it's a bad thing because of liability. We can always talk about that later on. But so as a promoter, you can go and promote it. Do whatever you want as far as gaining interest, gaining customer bases, it's a customer base, etc. But don't sell, don't give them anything, don't take any money until you have the LLC formed. And the reason is, if you were to do something before the LLC is formed, so let's say you formed the LLC on November 1st, 2024, but you took the deposit on October 29th, 2024. The deposit is under you as an individual, not under the LLC, because the LLC didn't exist yet.
Right.
And you can't just transfer it over without the client signing something or customer signing something saying that they recognize that this is now under the LLC. So even if you put in a contract the name of the LLC on October 29th,
It doesn't
if
exist.
the LLC doesn't exist until November 1st, that is a sole proprietor now for you as an individual, which means your personal assets and everything are at risk. Whereas if it was the LLC, only the LLC's assets are at risk.
Right.
So we'll put a link in the comments and such for our talks on LLCs versus sole proprietorships and things like that later on. But that is definitely something to make sure. Yes, if you're going to sell and take money or give product, you have to be formed. Otherwise, you're right. You can promote it, get interest, gain interest, start getting advertising together and such like that, until you form it later on.
Right.
Because you might find out that there's just no interest in this product. So why bother forming?
We say this all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, sell it before you try to go make it.
Right.
And it's the same thing whether it's a service or a product.
But make sure people understand what sell it means. It doesn't mean sell it. Hey, you want this? Great, here you go.
Correct.
It's, hey, do you want this? Great, I'll be in touch.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yes. Like, let's say you started a lawn mowing business, or you wanted to start a lawn mowing business. You can go out and hand out flyers and talk to people, and tell anybody that says, yeah, I'm going to use you this summer. You tell them I'll be back in 30 days with a contract.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
And then form the LLC. 30 days later, you show up with the contract with the business's name on it because now it's been established.
Yep. Exactly.
But you can't have them sign it until then.
Correct. Very good.
So question.
Yeah.
though. Could I have them sign a proposal that's not a contract? So let's say I said, hey, we're going to start services December 1st. Right now is November 1st. And I will send you the contract on the first day of service. Mm-hmm. But here's just, you are agreeing to the proposal that we are going to cut your lawn for $50 a week, whatever it is. Could they have them sign a proposal? Is that a legal?
So, well, it depends. If you're trying to make the proposal legally enforceable, then no.
Yeah, no, it's more
if it's more of a formality, just to say, hey, I'm locking in your price.
Yep.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay.
Because it's not legally enforceable.
Correct.
Right. So if you don't have an LLC, if you formed the LLC after you took money from somebody, you would not be able to sue that person under the LLC.
Right.
And vice versa, they would not have to sue the LLC. They could sue you directly.
Right. So,
but if you're just giving them a proposal to kind of say, hey, so you remember the pricing, so so you get good pricing, blah blah blah, so they feel better. Yeah, there's no problem with that.
Okay.
Because you're not legally enforcing anything.
It's a great way that if you want to go out and start a lawn mowing business, go out and get a handful of clients, give them a starting date, and say, hey, on the first day of service, I'm going to show up with a contract.
Yeah.
And here's a proposal with the numbers, just so you know.
And what I would do is...
because I honestly don't think that the general public knows that if I give you a proposal right then and there, and then I say, hey, I'll show up in 30 days to do the first service, I think they take it as a promise. Right?
Well, they probably do.
I signed something, so I'm promising that I'm going to use you. And of course, I'll sign the liability waiver or whatever when you show up.
However, that brings up a good point. Don't have them sign a proposal and then show up 30 days later and start doing the work.
No, you got to have
because it's based off of that proposal now, which is an LLC that doesn't exist.
Correct. But you got to have them sign the agreement before you start the work.
Exactly.
Okay.
So one thing I would do is I would look at my state and look to see how long it takes to actually form an LLC. Mm-hmm. Some states it takes 2 to 3 weeks. Some states like New Jersey, it happens the moment you file. It happens online. It's instantaneous. Pennsylvania, you can get it in as little as an hour, or as long as right now they're about 2.5 to 3 days at the longest. So it all depends on the state that you're in.
Yeah, so it's not a long lead time for most, right?
No,
so,
but you don't want to think that you're going to form your LLC on November 1st and then apply for it on October 31st.
No,
in some states, because you won't get it till December maybe.
Right.
Whereas again, like New Jersey, you get it immediately. Pennsylvania will take a few days. Plus, you might want to do all your research beforehand. Is the name even available? Mm-hmm. I had a client, they were buying an apartment building and it had a very specific address, right? Let's just say 123 Happy Street.
Yep.
And we were getting ready to register it. And normally we do a name search beforehand to see if the name's available. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way this name's taken. It's 123 Happy Street LLC. No way. But I'll do my due diligence. It was taken. I couldn't believe it. It was taken. Someone had owned that complex 20 years prior and had registered the LLC and didn't terminate it. And they weren't even the owners anymore, but they registered that LLC under that name.
So it still existed.
It still technically existed, so we had to change the name to something else. But I just thought that was like,
funny.
Who's going to own that?
Right.
Sure enough.
Yeah.
124 Happy Street, fine. 121 Happy Street, fine. But 123 Happy Street, no.
So with those type of instances, it's probably not as common, but like the amount of business names that are registered is insane.
Oh my
like
gosh.
Coming up with any type of name that isn't being used.
Yeah.
And
it's tough.
Well, we're talking about two levels, right? Because we're talking about registering the LLC under a name
And then the domain.
and the domain,
Yeah.
and then your trademark,
Oh, the trademark as well.
right?
Sure.
Like so there's like 3 layers to this
Yeah.
that people often don't realize.
I know.
But that's why you end up with, Joe's Auto Shop in 7 states and they're not connected.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're too descriptive and it's too specific,
Correct.
it doesn't matter. But when you try to come up with a unique name, like I may have told you this story before. My uncle owned a media company in Jersey, and they spent a whole summer brainstorming on coming up with a name, right? Or half a summer, I should say, brainstorming coming up with a name. And their chief marketing officer and my uncle, the owner, and a bunch of other people, I was involved in it. And we finally came up with the name, which I hated, but they loved it. They went with the name. Okay, great, this is our name. And this is before I was an attorney, but I knew enough about trademark law. I said, guys, you gotta register it now. You gotta go and register it right now. And this is like July or something. And they're like, yeah, we'll get on it. Chief marketing officer, you would think would know that, but he's like, yeah, we'll get on it. Finally, in December, I'm like, have you registered it yet? No, well, we'll do it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go do it. And he's like, no, okay, we'll take care of it. So they called the attorneys. The attorneys go to register it. And wouldn't you know, 3 weeks earlier, another company in another part of the country who could not possibly have known what this is. This was a very unique and unusual name. They could not have known about it because it was never released anywhere. Registered the name in the same category.
Yep. I had that happen with
And
my name.
my uncle had spent $250,000 on marketing materials, brochures, T-shirts, because they were going to do a whole release at the beginning of the year in January.
And they couldn't do it.
And well, what they wound up doing was they wound up coming to an arrangement with the other name. They had to go to arbitration and stuff, but they wound up coming to an arrangement where they could both use the name, but they couldn't trademark it because it was already trademarked.
So I hired
It's crazy.
I hired a law firm to do mine.
Yeah.
And they were dragging their feet on it.
Yeah.
And my name was actually registered in one of the categories that we were going to register.
While they were dragging.
It happened. The other company
Which
filed.
company?
Red Knight.
Original?
Yeah.
Wow, really?
So yeah, there was a, what I don't understand is how they even got the Red Knight name through, because we already had a trademark for Red Knight marketing.
Right.
So they were able to file for just Red Knight, but they filed it in like 2 categories, and then the 3rd category overlapped with us. So we had to do the same thing. I actually have a document from their attorneys and all that stuff that says we can both operate under that trademark because we are in different categories.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens. So yeah, trademarking your name and making sure it's available, very important.
The thing that blows my mind is, like, we have Stanley, the tool manufacturer, and we have Stanley cups.
And Stan Lee, the comic creator.
And Stanley steamer, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, with Stanley tools and Stanley cups, they both sell products. They're just wildly different products.
Well, they're in different ICs.
Oh, is that what it is?
International classes, yeah. So there's 42, I think, international classes.
So it bases on
It's all based on your international class. So we have Best Buy, the electronics store, right? And then right down the street, if you go down 611, it's right into Philadelphia.
Yeah.
There's a Best Buy Autos, and they actually have a trademark, I think.
Okay.
It's Best Buy Autos. They can do it because they're selling automobiles. It's a different international class.
So if I wanted to do like Best Buy furniture, I might
as
be able
long as
to
there's
do
not
that.
an existing one, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because what happens is it's broken into those classes. Those classes are things like textiles, manufacturing, apparel, scientific apparatus, things like that. And so there's all these different. I think it's 42 different international classes. So as long as you're in a different class, you're good to go.
So like
the other thing is the other company couldn't reasonably expect to go into that class as well.
So like if I wanted to open Nike software, I probably could.
As long as Nike couldn't reasonably be expected to fall into the software category. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't think they would, right? Because their apparel, their shoes, their sportswear.
Well, they could argue at some point that they have an app.
Well, no, that would be scientific apparatus.
Okay.
It wouldn't be if you wanted to. Well, maybe software. Maybe depends.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah.
So that's how the international class works.
So to answer, busy contribution 20.
Yeah.
Go sell it. Just be prepared to set up the LLC.
Yeah, we got way off topic on that
I know. If you're selling something that requires an agreement, I would even have the agreement pre-written with an attorney, so that when the LLC is filed and you have a name, that's the only thing left to put in.
Right.
And then you can go off and have contracts signed.
Yep.
But yeah.
So go sell, and if you have a viable product or a viable service, then go register your LLC to save a few dollars. Okay. This is an interesting one. Is it better to start with a business loan or bootstrap everything? And this is from Olivia Baker, UK. That's an interesting question. That's a really depends question. Hey guys, I really need your opinion because honestly, I'm still torn with this question. When I started thinking seriously about my business, this was one of the biggest questions on my mind. So their question is: get a loan or start, bootstraps. How'd you start yours?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, I started with a credit card with a $400 limit.
So bootstraps.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I didn't get a business loan either.
But I had another business prior to this that I bought out, so it started with a loan.
So it started with a loan. Well, that was an existing business.
Kind of. So the business itself didn't exist. I bought the equipment and all that stuff from the business. And I didn't have the funds to flat out buy all that stuff. So
right.
I needed a startup loan.
So you had a business that required equipment.
Correct.
Right.
So it's really dependent. Is bootstrapping always the best choice? No.
A lot of people say go buy an existing business.
Or buy a franchise.
No, not a franchise. That's not an existing business.
But no, even if you're starting your own business, right? And people are like, oh, it takes time to build clients. It takes time to do all this. And it can, but you have to weigh the risk versus the rewards, right? If you go out and take $100,000 loan to start your business, and that allows you to not worry about money for 4 months and put in a marketing budget and start advertising and cover your basic expenses, you could potentially be fast tracking your business. It really depends on, do you want to bootstrap it? Do you want to do it that way? Because it's a great way to do it because you learn a lot of things along the way. But that doesn't mean that it's always the best way to do it for everybody.
Sure.
It really comes down to what's your risk-reward tolerance. Like, how confident are you that your business is going to start making you money? Because there's going to be investments you have to make along the way.
So to me, that's the right question, right? Sorry about that. That's the right question. How confident are you that the business is going to succeed? If you're not at all confident, maybe bootstrap's the right way to go, because this way you won't be stuck with a bunch of loans.
Yep.
But at the same time, if you're not as confident in your business, why are you even starting it?
Yes.
Right? But number two, if you are confident in it, if you have good market research, you did good preparation, you have experience in the industry, get a loan. You know why? Because you're not going to be able to do marketing without it. You're not going to be able to get employees without it. If you bootstrap it, you're not seeing an employee for 3 years. You're just not. You're not going to have the money.
Not in most cases.
Yeah. And bootstrap it doesn't mean get my home equity. That's a loan, right? Bootstrap it is, I have nothing, maybe a couple $100 on a credit card, and that's what I'm using to, get my LLC formed and buy QuickBooks and do this, that, or the other, right? Yep. That's bootstrapping. And then when customers pay me, that's when I have money to either pay myself or reinvest in the business. That's bootstrapping. Dipping into your HELOC, dipping into your 401k, dipping into your personal savings, or going to an SBA, that's all loans, whether it's from you or somebody else. Yeah. That's not necessarily bootstrapping. So,
and you can very easily find out whether you should or shouldn't, right? Because I use this as an example frequently, that if you go to a small bank and say, I want to open a restaurant, I need a $300,000 loan for equipment and build out and all that stuff, you're probably going to get a much higher rate. You might even not get the loan because it's considered a high-risk industry.
Right.
If you call the same bank and say, hey, I need $300,000 to go buy a Subway franchise, that bank will probably underwrite it.
Right.
Because you're not starting from scratch. So banks have a risk reward. So you opening your restaurant is high risk. You opening a Subway is low risk. And that's kind of what I boil all of this down to, is bootstrapping versus borrowing.
Sure.
Is if you think that your business is going to make it in 2 to 5 years, that you're going to have a return and you're going to be able to pay off that loan in less than 5 years, I see no problem borrowing the money. If you don't think you're going to make that money in the first 5 years, don't borrow it.
Right.
Like,
right.
Don't.
And you better have at least a 3-year financial plan
Yeah.
in place.
It's
At least.
projection, but yes.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Projection plan. Yeah, financial plan. Where's the money coming from? How much can you reasonably expect? Reasonably being the key word here. Don't overshoot. Don't think you're going to make $1 million in your first 10 days. It's not happening.
Underestimate your revenue and overestimate
by a lot.
Overestimate your
costs.
expenses.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So, So, Olivia Baker, UK. So, it depends on the business. If you gave us more information, we could probably give you more.
So, let's take her name. Let's say she wanted to start a bakery.
Okay, I like it. Yes,
you're
Olivia Baker, the baker.
Okay, right. You're probably.
So wait, she's in the UK. She's making scones, then, right?
Scones.
Obviously,
of course, English muffins. But like realistically, if you wanted to open a bakery, if you're bootstrapping it, you still have to come up with the money to buy the equipment.
Yes.
Right. So I personally would say, and this is how I recommend to people like that they do it, is that set up your legal business first and then issue a loan from you to the business.
Yep. Draw up paperwork for that.
Correct.
Otherwise, it's a capital contribution.
Correct. 100%.
You're not getting it back anytime soon.
It's a loan from you to the business.
Right.
Put an interest rate on it, whole 9 yards, and then feed that money into the business. Or even better, if you have this, go borrow the money from a third party, knowing that you have the reserve funds to pay it. Because then you have backup capital. If you're taking all your capital and buying the equipment, it is not necessarily a great idea.
Right.
So I think that pretty much we've answered that question.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we beat it to death with a stick.
All right. So good luck to you. If you are a baker, we'll put the address in the comments and you can send us some of your scones. That'd be fantastic. All right. Let's see. So this one's about Gen Z employees. We'll broach that at another time.
Yeah,
I have some thoughts. Well, my daughter's, I guess Lisa's millennial technically, but my son's definitely Gen Z. My son Michael, so he'll be getting in the workforce. He's a freshman in college now. He'll be in the workforce soon enough. Some of the pains and things that people talk about with Gen Z, I see it in my son. Mm-hmm. But I also think there's a lot of good things that they're not accounting for. So we can talk about that another time.
Everything's a trade-off.
It really is. Okay, rate my idea. Ooh, okay, well, we will do so. Ask and you shall receive. Hi, this is from Broad Royal 8. Hey, I recently came across some really cool chrome designs for watches and headphones, but noticed they aren't widely available, at least not in my area. Since I have 3D modeling skills, a 3D printer, and know how to electroplate. I don't know what that is, electroplate.
Isn't that when they take it and basically put a coating?
Is it? Like I don't know.
A chrome coating?
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. I thought about making and selling chrome/metallic rims and straps for watches and custom headphone pieces. Oh, that's kind of cool. Capital isn't an issue. Oh, well, excuse me.
That's a good thing.
I'm unsure if there's enough of a market. Do you think the customer base for this is established enough? Would it be worth pursuing? Appreciate your thoughts. All right, so that's kind of cool. So he's basically making custom watch bands and watch faces, I guess, right? Straps, bands. Okay, yeah, custom straps and headphone pieces, which is kind of cool.
Things that would go on.
Yeah. No, that's kind of cool. Well, there's always a market for that kind of stuff. Always, you'll always find people who want to do that.
If you're not looking at mass production, if you just want what you can produce at home with a 3D printer and you could sell that stuff on eBay. You can sell that stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
I mean, what's that store?
You can test it.
What's that store? They sell like little costume jewelry and things like that. So it's in every mall.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
My wife and daughter used to go there all the time.
I know.
Claire's.
Yes.
Claire's made an entire industry out of that.
Yes.
They did. Out of just like little things that's all what Etsy is, right? Every individual little things that people sell.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's little things that people sell that aren't, mass produced elsewhere. And it's absolutely. There's all kinds of things for that. In fact, I'm buying a watch soon, and I can't stand the band. I love the watch, but I don't like the band, and I don't know what I'm going to do about the band yet. But that'd be great to have an option like that.
I think once again this is a low risk entry because you could make 10 prototypes for next to no cost.
Yeah.
Try to sell them, see if they sell, and I don't know how long it takes to do 3D print something and electroplate it, but it can't take more than a couple of days.
Right.
So if you don't never have to sell your prototypes. You can still use them for show and tell, so to speak.
Right.
And then just print this on demand. Right? Like you're making this on demand.
And then that's the question that's a great question. How long does it take to make it? Right. Mm-hmm. So you have to figure in your production cost and how long it's going to take you to do it. And then figure out, okay, what is the market for this and how much can I sell it for?
Yep.
So if it's something that costs, $4 in materials and takes you 2 hours to do, but you can only sell it for $12, probably not worth it.
Correct.
You're only making $8.
What do most manufacturers, they work on a 7-point margin?
Something like that.
So
they
70,
have to sell for 7 times what it costs them.
Yep.
Right.
So that's a good baseline. If it costs you $10 to make, you should be getting $70
to $100. Yeah. Now, if it's a watch band, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see watch bands going for if they're really nice. I can see watch bands going for $100. Definitely. Especially if they're like really really good quality. The headphone piece one, well, maybe not. I'm not so sure about that because that's.
So let's be real. How good of a quality is a 3D printed watch band?
Well, it could be fantastic. Depends on the materials.
Okay.
That's the thing about 3D printing. It all depends on the material. Yeah, the rosin that's used, whatever it is, whether it's plastic, metal, it all depends on what you're using. It could be fantastic.
Okay.
Could be junk.
Correct. Right. Like, yeah.
So who knows?
It's just interesting. I don't know enough about the 3D printing to know because
we had one here for a while.
Most watches have very fine joints.
Yeah.
Right. In order for it to be able to bend.
Oh, sure.
So that would be my concern is that those would snap too easily.
It's possible if it's a solid piece, but if it's not solid, if it's linked like links, right, little pieces at a time, you're building and putting them together, they could be really funky and cool. Yeah. You never know.
This could be a cool idea.
Kind of curious about the length, the lock, for it, how you would do that, but. If this guy's got the skills, then so be it.
Do it.
Send one to us. We'd love to see it. So as far as your idea goes, yeah, sure. There's always a market for little trinket ideas, knick-knack ideas like that. Some of those things become huge. Some of them, just become a side gig.
And it's always like the missing thing in all of these ideas and stuff is, are you looking to do this to keep yourself busy?
Yeah. Or
are you thinking that in 5 years you're going to have 50 employees producing 100,000 of these a day, right? Like,
yeah. It's right. I saw a obviously a much older video, an interview with Steve Jobs the other day. That guy was brilliant. He really was. I don't know. I know you thought of him, but Steve Jobs in my mind was brilliant. Went from a marketing perspective, anyway. And what he said was that it's like he was talking about ideas, people coming up with ideas like this, right? And he's like, it's not anyone can come up with an idea. In fact, 100 people probably have the same idea you have right now. He says it's all about the execution of the idea. And he said, he was talking about where someone comes up with an idea and they're so secretive about their idea, they don't want anyone else getting it, and they're afraid people. He's like, you're not going to win or lose based on that. It's all going to be based off of the execution of your idea. And you're never going to be able to execute if you don't have if other people don't know about it. You need people to help you execute it.
Let's be real. The iPod that launched them into the
stratosphere, yeah.
The actual MP3 player as we know it was not a Steve Jobs idea.
Oh no, they existed
right?
before.
Like, all he did was, how can I make this easier to use for people?
Oh yeah, it's all about user interface. All user interface.
So he took something that already existed and just put the user first.
Yep.
And that catapulted them into an industry they probably otherwise never would have been in.
Yeah. And then he took every device on the face of the planet and put it into a phone. Put it into one. It's not even a phone. It's a device. It's a personal device.
Once again, they weren't even the first to do it.
No, BlackBerry, right?
Yeah,
BlackBerry did a lot of that.
BlackBerry did a lot of
Yeah.
that. Like my first phone that I could answer emails and stuff on was a BlackBerry.
I'll tell you, the thing for me, in my opinion, I could be wrong on this, but the thing that really propelled the iPhone and smartphones was the store, the App Store. Because BlackBerry, yeah, they had the ability to do a lot of these things, but you couldn't get anything on it.
Correct. You couldn't.
There was no way to download stuff. It was impossible.
It was completely a work device.
Yeah.
Right. BlackBerry was going after the people that wanted to be able to stay in communication.
Yeah, and I was a programmer back then, and I couldn't make something for the BlackBerry. I wasn't allowed to. I didn't have access to their SDKs or anything like that. Apple opened it up to the world. Anybody can make an app. Anybody can put their apps on the store, and anybody can make money off it.
Was it them that did it first, though, or was it Google?
Android wasn't around yet.
Oh, that's right.
Android didn't exist until 2 or 3 years later.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so Apple was absolutely first. 2007, I believe, right, was when the first iPhone came out, and that's when the App Store was launched. Yeah. Once the App Store came out, that was it, because now people can download. In fact, the reason I even got the first iPhone was because of an app. Now, I'll give you a hint. I was a DJ back then. Do you want to guess which app it was?
Napster?
No, that was way years before that. Shazam.
Oh yeah.
Because I would go to clubs and everything's like, oh, what is this great new song? And before Shazam, I would have to like write down some of the lyrics and then go home and search it on Google or something. But with Shazam, it's like boop, oh yeah, boop, oh yeah, and then I'd go buy it, and it was great. It was great for playing in clubs. So that's why I even bought my first iPhone, was because of an app that even Apple didn't build, someone else built. BlackBerry never would have done that.
No. Not in a million years.
So again, it's, as you said, it's all about for them, the user interface, making things easier for people, right? Well, that's products in general.
One of the best things he ever said was, "I don't need a focus group. I need a 7-year-old."
Yeah.
Right. He's like, if a 7-year-old can pick up one of our devices and figure out how to use it, I don't need a focus group.
Right.
Then I know it's good enough.
Yep.
And lo and behold, I have an 8-year-old. Well, she was 7. We handed her first smartphone because, I mean, realistically now the Androids and the iPhones,
they're very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I handed her the phone and I wanted to see, and she figured out how to open the camera and the calculators and YouTube, and like in minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is what he meant.
Yeah.
Like, this is literally what he meant.
Isn't it crazy?
So if you have like, but if that, to me, it's fascinating, because it means if you want to make something that requires the user to use it, literally find a 7-year-old to use it instead of spending a ton of money on focus groups and testing it with adults. Like, if a 7-year-old can use it right off the bat without having to think about it, you have something.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, right? if it's a physical product, exactly.
Like board games, like all of this stuff is like, give it to a 7-year-old. See what they do with it. How long does it take them to figure? Like,
yeah, you're right, because some of these board games that are really complicated, we lose interest.
Correct.
You play them once, and you're like, I don't want to have to remember how to play this thing.
Like the board games that my daughters like to play, Twister.
Yeah.
Not really a hard game to comprehend, right? And then Who Is It?
Yeah, sure. I know.
The flip
where you
game?
flip the things up. Yep. Yeah. Who Is It?
And then as you get older, it's games like, I don't know, Yahtzee.
Right.
It's games
even Monopoly's not that complicated.
Correct. It's just, it's very long.
Yeah,
right?
It's long.
But
unless you know how to play it. Right?
But like all of these games that have like risen to stardom is because at its core, it's simplicity. Don't get me wrong, D&D, there's a lot of other board games or games out there that are extremely complicated that have still been successful, but they're successful in a niche group.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
They're
like,
a very niche group, a very social group. And that it's more about the social aspect, I think, than anything else.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you could open up Monopoly and 8 out of 10 people would know how to play the game in 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and probably nothing's easier than Scrabble. Here, go spell. Right? That's all it is.
Correct.
Go spell.
Yeah.
All right. So, Broad Royal 8, good luck. I like it. I think it could work. It's probably a side gig thing, but who the heck knows, right?
Yeah.
Could turn
never
into
know.
something pretty cool. All right. Oh, this is more for you. Struggling to get clients. This is right up your alley. This is from Big Bag Chaser. Been running a small mobile detailing business. Oh, we had a guy that did that on the side whilst still in school for the past 2 years. Recently, though, it seems near impossible to get new customers. I'm on every local Facebook group, Nextdoor app, and have run a couple paid ads, but they're too expensive and didn't yield much return, and they never do. Planning to get 500 flyers next week to hit the higher income neighborhoods. Any suggestions on what I can do? Not paid ads. What?
So
I know what I would say.
Whenever someone says it's too expensive to run ads, that means you're undercharging.
You're running the wrong ads. Well, you're undercharging. Is that what you think?
If you can't justify spending the money on ads, granted, if you have a really horrible conversion rate, then they're expensive. But at an average conversion rate, and if you think they're still too expensive, then you have a what you charge problem, not an ad problem. But as far as all the other stuff that he does, yeah. I mean, those are the basics you need for mobile detailing for anybody. I have a mobile detailer that comes to my house in the exact same situation as this guy, right? He's a mobile detailing guy. He's in college, so he only does it on the weekends and full-time in the summers. And I asked him, like, how many times while you're outside cleaning a business do you put up a lawn sign with your phone number on it while you're cleaning the car?
Yeah.
And he's like, I never thought of that. I'm like, people are watching you clean the car.
Yeah.
If someone drives by and goes, I need my car cleaned.
Right.
Why not put the phone number right in their face? Because he told me when he first started, 2 years ago, I think was the first year I hired him. And he always said, oh no, I get most of my business because I'm outside cleaning cars and someone walks up to me and asks for a business card.
Right.
And I'm like, why not make it even easier where they don't even have to ask you for it?
Right.
And 500 flyers.
I'll tell you what I would do. Right. I have an idea here. And actually, I shouldn't say this is my idea. This is someone. So I had a friend that used to do mobile oil changes. Okay. And he started the same kind of way, going to houses, high income developments, et cetera. And then he realized, no. I need to go to businesses. Right. Not the ones in the city because no one parks down there. Right. But the ones in the burbs like us out here. And go to businesses and, hey, I do mobile, this guy mobile, what's he doing?
Detailing.
Mobile detailing. And, can I give my cards out to your people? Right. Or what this guy did with the thing was he would give the company their people discounts from that company, like a 20% coupon or whatever, if you work for that company. And it would help build his customer base.
Yep.
Because people are at work. They got to get oil changes. They got to get their car detailed. You know what they can't do? They don't want to take it on a Saturday and then lose their car for the whole day. So if they're at the office and they can get the car washed and detailed or oil changed, they'll love it. They'll gladly pay you to do that.
There's a guy here that turned his business into a 7-figure business, and he only does detailing during business hours.
Is that right?
Yeah. He started doing like big parks, so like Merck, J&J.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he could go in and he could spend the entire day there and just do the cars in the parking lots. Yep. He has a bunch of businesses. Dorman Products. So he offered that to them. So once a month he goes there and he washes, I want to say he has like 10 or 12 customers just at Dorman's.
That's all you need.
So he and another guy would go, and I think they would spend a day at Dorman's.
Yeah.
Then they would go to the next business and spend a day there.
So that's exactly right. So
but he started like this guy, where he was chasing individuals instead of looking at, okay, where can I go where I can wash 5 cars?
Exactly. Where are all the individuals together?
Correct.
Right? And how do you make it, like you said earlier, easy? How do you make it easy for them? You make it easy for them by let them sit at their desk and do their job while they get their car detailed.
As long as
wasting a Saturday.
As long as you're willing to go through the process to get the permission to work on the cars in the parking lots, that's
exactly.
Sometimes that's the hurdle, but yeah, that's a much better way to go out and get bulk clients. Where does your car spend the vast majority of their time?
Sitting in the parking lot at work.
Correct. The rest of the time,
why not get clean there?
You're either sleeping or doing it on the weekends. So that's the way I would go.
That's absolutely the way I would approach it as well.
As far as his flyers and stuff, anybody that's thinking about doing flyers or door hangers or any of that stuff, don't do it once.
Yeah, you got
Pick a neighborhood, and if there's 100 houses in that neighborhood and you have 500 flyers, I'd rather see you distribute those flyers to 100 people five times
than 500 people once. Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it? 7 times? 7 times your brand needs to be in front of someone?
21.
What?
We just upped the numbers.
21? Yeah, there's so much noise out there, I guess.
Correct. It's
21
I think
times.
it's up to 21.
So your brand needs to be in front of somebody's eyes 21 times before they recognize it.
Seven
they
is a
interact with it.
baseline just for them even remembering they saw it.
Wow. So to interact with it now is 21 times.
I think it's up to 21 times
Holy
before
cow.
someone interacts.
Well, that's why
with
your
the brand.
Facebook ads aren't working. You're not doing enough of them.
Correct. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things people underestimate. So like
Wow.
when we run what we call like awareness ads on Facebook, there's a way you can cap them, right? So you only see an ad X number of times as a user per day. So we used to say, okay, let's do, that they can see it once or twice a day.
Right.
Now I'm like, no, I want you to see that ad 4 or 5 times every day for the next 3 weeks.
Right.
Because I want to have at least some chance of you remembering seeing it. And yeah, that's one of the things people underestimate with ads is how many impressions you need in order for the ad to actually be effective.
No, that makes total sense. I just can't believe it's that big. But that also makes sense because there's so much noise out there. There's doesn't matter what business you're in, there's so much competition these days.
Yep.
Which I think is a good thing. I like it. I like the competition. It keeps me on my toes. It keeps the economy going, keeps things moving forward. Innovation, I'm all about that. I think it's great. But yeah, you're right. It just means that you have to spend more time getting your brand in front of people.
Yeah. They have to see you more times.
Man, well, okay, big
And
bag
that's-
chaser.
I just need people to understand that that's not someone has to see you 21 times before they buy from you.
Right.
They can see your phone number once, call you and book you if you're a auto detailer, right? But if you're trying to build a brand that people would recognize, like in your area, like if you're a restaurant, if someone drives by your restaurant every day, it only takes them 21 days to get the 21 touches, right?
Right.
But think about how many times you've driven past a restaurant that you've driven by probably 50 times.
Right.
And you've never noticed it. And then one day you're like, when did they open this?
Right? 6 years ago.
Right. but this is the stuff that people totally underestimate.
Right.
Right? Is that just because you have a sign out front doesn't mean that people even notice you. Just because you run an ad on Facebook doesn't mean that people notice you.
That's a good point because what you're doing when you're just randomly placing ads or placing brochures or flyers or whatever is you're basically rolling the dice. You're assuming that somebody out there needs your service now.
Yes.
And they happen to see your flyer and say, "Oh, I need that now." When 99% of the time that's not the case.
Correct.
It should be build that brand awareness over a period of time so that when they do need your service, your brand is what comes to mind.
So this is where brand marketers and performance marketers argue all the time.
Yeah.
Right? The performance marketers want to know that click on the Google ad, that click on that Facebook ad closed an actual deal.
Correct.
Brand marketers go, okay, so if I run awareness ads and do flyers and lawn signs, but I pick a 5-mile radius to do it in so that anybody in that 5-mile radius can't help but know our name, and my business doubled over the course of a year, how are you going to track those
How are you
conversions?
measuring that?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it led to business growth.
Right.
I didn't need to know that the lawn sign that I placed at ABC House
led to more. Yeah, exactly.
It became irrelevant, right?
Right.
So when you're working in local areas like this, I always tell people, pick a smaller area than you normally would, but own it.
Right.
Right? Like bombard them with ads over a long period of time. Put your lawn signs out. If you're allowed to put it at any intersection, even if you're not allowed to put it, make sure that people cannot not notice you.
Right.
And you will probably see more growth than if you're chasing performance marketing for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
Performance marketing is something you add into brand marketing. You don't necessarily start with performance marketing.
Yeah, I like performance marketing for trying a specific type of approach. Like, I want to see what Facebook does, and I can track that directly, right? But that shouldn't be my overall strategy. My overall strategy should be brand awareness.
But there's so many people that are going after, like, AdWords, Google Ads.
Yeah.
They are 100% performance marketing. Is it a great way as well? If you are a plumber and you're starting your business tomorrow, Google Ads, where you either pay for the lead or you pay per click, can be a really, really good way to jumpstart your business, to get your first few clients, because it's just a form of advertising. But it's bottom of funnel advertising, which is generally very expensive, but turns to customers very quickly. Brand marketing and getting people to people to become brand loyal is a much longer process.
Right.
Which a lot of people run out of money before that hits.
Right.
So when you're starting, I think it's a combination of both. You need to run performance, which is why we run Facebook ads, with brand, which would be flyers, right? Because flyers are not considered performance marketing.
Right.
You can't necessarily track 100% every flyer that went out, like you can track every Facebook ad that they clicked on that they went through your funnel, right?
Sure.
But yeah, get your name out there in a smaller area than you think and get it out a lot.
Yeah, I like that idea too. So do the brochures, do, a couple hundred brochures in a niche, in a small area, and Facebook ad that area as well.
Correct.
100%. You can hyper localize.
Yeah, that's what we
hyper localize.
That's what we do when people say, "Hey, I'm opening a restaurant in this township." We're like, "Okay, let's blanket mail a couple of neighborhoods that are really close to you that fit your demographic. And then we're going to run ads right on top of your restaurant in a 5-mile radius."
Yep.
Because that is going to be where 60 to 70% of your customers come from.
Exactly. So there you go. I hope Big Bang Chaser, I hope that works out for you. But yeah, marketing is always an issue for especially newer businesses. Okay, well, let's see. Just applied for a retail space. I'm looking for some tips and advice. This is from False518. Hello, just applied for a small 180 square foot retail space in a new building in my town. I have never had a shop or anything like it before. I have only sold my works in markets. I'm guessing artist or something like that, some type of art. What do I have to do? Any tips such as, do I need an LLC or is kind of a sole proprietor or anything like shiny? Just like any tips would be appreciated. Well, I don't know what the business is, but if we're talking about works, I'm going to assume they mean some type of art.
That would be my guess.
It could be paintings, it could be sculpture, it could be something, earrings, who the heck knows, right? But some type of art. So we're going to assume it's some type of art. So what do you do? Well, I mean, I'll start this. Yep. I mean, if you're in a retail space, and I'm assuming it's a retail space, I'm assuming you mean street retail, not like inside of a building where you're hidden from people, although that could be the case.
180 square feet is like the size of
this room.
Yes.
It's pretty small.
So it's got to be some kind of like booth inside of, like, have you ever been to the, what is that market? Is it in Ontario? The old factory that they turned into a market where like everything is basically a stall. Think like
okay. The Pennsauken Mart used to have that.
Correct, yeah, right?
Yep.
So if it's something like that, that's a totally different thing than if it's a front-facing retail store at a market.
Right.
Because you said I got a retail space in a new building in my town.
Yeah.
180 square foot retail space is not
a lot.
You don't do a lot with that.
It's not a lot.
But
let's just assume. Let's assume it fits their needs, right? Let's assume it's not street facing. Let's assume it's inside.
Yep.
Okay. So what do you do? Well, they're talking about everything from do I form an LLC to how do I get customers to. So we'll tackle some of that, but make an LLC. Absolutely, make an LLC
before you sign the lease.
Yeah. Before. Well, did they already sign the lease? I just applied. Okay,
yes.
So you applied for it. Okay.
Yeah.
That means you haven't signed it yet. So yeah, form your LLC and sign that lease under the LLC. Although, you know what? It probably doesn't matter. You know why?
Why?
They're going to want a personal guarantee anyway.
Oh, yeah, but you can negotiate that out.
Where? In what world can you negotiate that out? Well, you have, because you and I are sophisticated business people, but you people...
So I negotiated mine out, and this is actually good for people to know, that if you're signing a lease through an LLC and they want a personal guarantee, limit how long you're guaranteeing the lease for. So like if you have a 10-year lease... see if you can personally guarantee it for only 3 years. Right? Because if you are doing a 5-year lease, see if you can limit it to 2 years. Because then you will ultimately not personally have to pay. If your business goes out of business in 18 months, they can only come after you for those extra 6 months, not for the entirety of the lease.
Correct. So they can come after the LLC, but the LLC is defunct anyway.
Correct.
So, but they're always going to want a personal guarantee. I wouldn't rent space without a personal guarantee for somebody. Meaning that if I was the owner of the building, I wouldn't rent it without a personal guarantee unless it was like a big corporation.
Yeah. I mean, it depends.
Now, again, it doesn't have to be for the full 10 years. It's got to be for at least a couple of years.
Correct. And most landlords, I found out, is they, like, you just went through my new lease.
Yeah.
Nowhere in there was there a personal.
There was not.
There was none, right? But it was a short-term. Well, we extended it to 5 years.
Yeah.
But there was no personal guarantee in that.
Right.
But my previous landlord, I did a 10-year lease, and initially they wanted me to personally guarantee it for 10 years.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this was like a 7,000 square foot space.
It's big.
On 309, like major.
Ooh, that's big.
Yes. And I got that down to, I think it was 3 years.
Okay.
So it's doable.
Oh no, you have to know how to negotiate it though.
You have to know that it's even in your lease.
Oh
I
yeah,
think most people don't
realize.
even read it.
They don't even realize it's in their lease, along with confession of judgment clauses. But that's a different story. Go look up confession of judgment and then cry.
Yes.
Then you can start crying. But no, start your LLC regardless for your liability protection. Again, try to negotiate out any personal guarantees, etc. So, and that's before you sign the lease. Don't sign it as you. Sign it as the LLC. All right, so that's number one. And then as far as the space itself goes, you have a very small space.
Yep.
Very small space. So I don't know what your work is, but give me something. Paintings? What do you want? You want to go with paintings?
Paintings. How about let's say she does clay.
Clay. A clay
Right?
like clay makes
So like
little sculptures
and plates and
Beautiful.
all kinds of stuff.
Beautiful.
It's a great because it's like a retail.
Yeah. So you're going to absolutely want to, in my opinion, you're going to absolutely want to have some out there. I would think you would have some open space so it's not cluttered, right? So have some open space in there so people can walk around because 180 square feet, it's not a lot of space to walk around.
If you think about it, if she says she's selling them currently at markets,
Yeah.
it's literally you're setting up a slightly nicer version of whatever has worked for you at the markets.
Right. But I would make one addition.
Yeah.
I would put a bunch of TVs on the walls and then have it rotate through your products that you could sell.
Yeah, but yeah.
So people can see the product.
Well, a lot of them are, if they're in that kind of work, is they're handmade, unique type things. But yeah, I would run something.
Well, but you're giving ideas on what
Correct.
you can make, the kind of things you can make for people.
Yeah.
Right. So again, assuming clay sculptures, that's kind of how I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have space in there because if 180 square feet is tight and people are going to get claustrophobic and they're going to walk out. So you got to make sure there's room for them in this place, especially if it's not street facing and there's no windows, right?
You got to get something that will grab their attention.
Exactly.
Right? Like
quickly.
that is key. Is if you have to pick between cramming in more products or putting something that'll grab someone's attention and get them in,
right?
That takes priority.
Exactly.
Because
once they're in, they'll see your products.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if you can't get them in, it's the same thing at the markets, right? Like they have to have a reason to stop at your tent or at your booth, like whatever it is.
Right.
This is the exact same concept, except you have more things you can do because you are now inside of a building.
Yes.
Right. So that it opens up electric and televisions and all kinds of things.
And so then the next thing I would say is if you're in a building, assuming with other tenants, right, you give them some of your stuff to showcase. Right?
Yeah.
Make something. So let's say you got a pizza place that's right in the front of the building or something like that. Make them a clay pizza that they can showcase and say, hey, this is from her, blah, 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 right? If you're doing paintings or something like that, let them hang them on the wall with your name and stuff for $750 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Let the other tenants help you, showcase your stuff. And in return, you're putting the pizza place's brochure right on your desk, when people walk in. Hey, go grab lunch at Emilio's Pizza or whatever.
Cross marketing.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't do it enough.
They don't do it enough. Well, they don't know people.
Well,
when you're in a building like that, it's easy.
We all know people, right? So let's take the guy that does facility services.
Okay.
Do you think they make and you know who I'm talking about?
I know.
Right? Do you think they make an active effort to go talk to the window guy that, hey, when you see a dirty sidewalk, would you mind handing them our business card and saying, hey, by the way, this could be a safety hazard.
Right.
Because when it rains, this becomes slippery. And in return, the guy
and vice versa,
correct.
right? When he's doing the floors.
Do you think they have actively had this conversation that this is how we should? And the answer is no, they haven't.
Right.
Because most small businesses are so focused on only
their business,
that they tend to forget that if they're willing to help someone else, a lot of times that business can help them even more.
Right.
So form these types of partnerships, whether you're going into a 180 square foot space or you're out on your own. Find partners where your work and their work literally meshes together, and then become referral partners for one another.
Right.
Now you're getting in front of twice the amount of customers.
Oh, at least.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's kind of along lines what you're saying is build relationships so people not only see you, but that other businesses there refer you.
Exactly. So that's, those are some ideas for you. False 518. You're welcome to, put something in comments, and we'll try to answer them as much as possible. But it's I would suggest in future posts be a little more specific. What do you do? Right? What kind of answers are you looking for? I appreciate that you want advice, but it's hard to give advice when we don't know what kind of advice you're seeking.
If she's making soap, the answer might change.
Yeah.
Right? Well, the fundamentals won't. You still need make relationships, design it in a way that grabs people attention, get them to touch stuff, right? Whether it's pottery, whatever it is, get them in and get them involved in that area. And you have a much higher chance of selling something.
And if it is soap, go to the pizza place and say, we want to replace all the soaps in your bathrooms with our soap.
Correct. Like whatever it is. But
exactly.
Yes.
All right. Good luck to you on that. All right. Let's see what else we have. Okay. I'm curious because I like domain names. This one says competitor domain name. This is from C Cauliflower 5649. Says, our top local competitor has mysteriously let their domain name go. The domain name is now up for auction. Should I buy it? If yes, how much is it worth? 100, 500, more? Bidding currently shows minimal interest from others. It's never going to show big interest unless it's like a 4 or 5 letter name or something like that, or something that's a word. Also, they are just massively screwing me over in some weird fashion I'm entirely unaware of. It would be a brand for their business practices. Okay, so there's one issue that you would need to address first. Before you purchase their domain, do they have a trademark on it? If they have a trademark on it, you can't use a domain. If they're still in business and still using the name that they have, it's called there's federal trademark, assuming United States. It's federal trademark and common law trademark. If it's federally registered with the USPTO, you can't use it anywhere in the country. If it's not federally registered, but they're still in business, then it's a common law trademark, and you can't use it in the geographical area in which they're currently doing business. So if you were to take that domain name and then start advertising your business with that domain name, that could be grounds for a trademark lawsuit. Just keep that in mind.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
So we used to do this.
Oh, I know. People do it all the time.
No. So we used to do this for political figures.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will run, votebethany.com.
Right.
And they don't win, so they let it expire.
Right.
And then their competitors find out, they're going to be running again next year, and they'll buy votebethany.com so they can't reuse it.
Right.
And then point it back to their own websites.
Yeah. But Vote Bethany isn't a trademark.
I get it, right? But in this case, the simple answer is yes, it's worth buying.
You just might not be able to use it right away.
Correct. And because I just went through this with a moving company. The guy was basically shutting down his business. And he was like, I have other family that are movers. So like they came to an agreement. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to give them my domain name and that stuff. And I'm like, you realize that's worth something? And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, so I went and pulled numbers for how much traffic he was getting.
Right.
And we were able to assign a value to his domain name based on recognition and hits and all that stuff. So he ended up getting, I think, like, I don't know, $6 or $8 grand for the domain name.
Just for the name.
Because
from somebody else.
Yeah, so another
from a third party.
Another moving company bought the domain name and everything. Yeah, same thing. So I can't say that it was just the domain name. So we bundled it in with a bunch of other stuff.
Uh-huh.
So like phone numbers, domain name.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is anyone who has used that business in the past is going to call or email or click on that domain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we bundled a bunch of stuff together, and then that went into the additional purchase price of the equipment.
There you go.
So yeah, all this stuff is worth something.
As long as it's been around for a little while, right?
Yeah.
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 Has to have some type of traffic to it.
Is it worth you buying it? It might be. If you can use it, yeah.
Yeah.
If you can't use it,
neither can they.
Correct.
At least
right?
neither can they.
Yeah, you're going to be costing them a lot of money because they're going to have to reconfigure all their stuff. And the bigger issue is their emails are now no longer active if they've been using that as their primary email.
Right. So you might want to find out what's going on over there too, right? This is what I would do. I'd buy it right away. I'd buy it. Mm-hmm. Okay. If nothing else, to keep them, even if it's for a couple of months until maybe they file a W3C complaint and get it back at some point. Who knows, right? But I would, or I can. I guess I can. I would buy it, and then maybe a couple months go by and they get it back. So be it. But for that couple of months, you've interrupted their business, and there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't advertise under their name. So I would buy it right away, and then I'd start investigating what happened. Did they shut down? If they shut down, boom, use it. That's your name now. Start using it. Well, their customers are now your customers. Yep. When they go to their website, they're now going to your website. Yep. Beautiful. But if they're still in business, I would just hold it. I wouldn't say anything. Now, then there's do I tell them and try to get money out of them, or do I not tell them and just let them suffer?
You and I both know that it takes all of 10 seconds to look up who's registered for a domain name.
Well,
assuming you don't do a private privacy, registration.
Right. Which is, by the way, that's default now in GoDaddy. Do you know that? Privacy is default now.
Oh.
Yeah, it's free and it's default.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the quick answer is buy it. I personally, and I don't know whether this would be allowed or not, but I would set up a catch-all email address that catches all emails coming through that domain.
And it forwards them over to you.
So,
But again, you have to be careful.
Correct. You can't
if they're still in business, right? Because it could be considered, even if you're not advertising under it, it could still be considered a violation of the Trade Secrets Act. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you're using their trade secrets. Technically, there could be an argument there. You're using their trade secrets to better your business. Right. And you don't want that to happen either. So you have to be real careful with that.
This is a murky area.
It is.
It's very murky.
But that's a lot of hackers do that, though. What they'll do is they'll buy... No, I know you know, but these people, a lot of people might not know. They'll buy expired. Don't do this. Please don't do this. Please. They'll buy expired or recently expired domain names. Yep. Set up email accounts with so you just go on Google, and it's really easy to find out what email accounts existed, and then they'll go and they'll find the bank accounts that were associated with that email. Because there's only a handful of banks. There's hundreds of them, but it's not thousands or millions. And then they'll do recover password, and they'll get access to the bank accounts. Yep. Or they'll get access to their to their Gmail or to their QuickBooks or something like that, because they now have access to the domain. Yeah. So it's very important as a business owner, or even as an individual, if you have a domain, if you have a personal domain, if you ever are going to let that thing go, make sure any account you have associated with it is closed down.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise,
it's kind of scary if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
And same thing. I don't know why people, when they have work emails, set up personal accounts using their work email. Yeah. Because your work email is far easier to get a hold of. And if someone hacks that, they get access to, we had that happen at my business. Someone sent an email and she tried to log in and she's like, oh, this Microsoft stuff wasn't working. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we get a phone call from our bank. And they're like, hey, I just wanted to apologize that I haven't been able to set up that user account for your new CPA. We're like, what new CPA? And she forwarded me a chain.
Yeah.
So what they did was they got access to her online mail.
Yeah.
And then they said anything that comes, any emails from this bank's domain.
Forwarded over here.
No, they were smarter than that. Because then you would see it in the inbox, right?
Right.
They set up a rule where those emails would go into the RSS feed folder.
Oh, okay.
How many people check their RSS feed?
That, yeah.
Correct. So there was actually a legit email chain between the bank, my employee, and this CPA firm that if you looked at it,
you would never tell.
No, it was legit. It was coming from the right. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the fact that she was running late on getting the account set up and wanted to call us because personal relationships, wanted to call us to apologize, we never would have known. She probably would have fired off a new access level to scammers. Right. Like I was like, actually, damn, they're getting good.
Do you know that I read that something like that just happened to Google, where they let their domain lapse for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And someone bought it. And then because it's Google, they were able to get it back right away.
Yeah.
But this person wasn't in it for nefarious reasons. He was just like, really? Google's available? I think it was google.com. It might have been something else. And Google sent him, as a thank you, they sent him some money. Guess how much they sent him?
I don't know.
I want you to take a guess.
2 million?
No. $6,006.13.
6,006 and 16 cents.
13 cents.
13 cents.
Google. Now, I read that story maybe a month or two ago. I think I did a little research. It seems like it was true. But that happened to Microsoft years ago. You know, a lot. This happens a lot.
Snickers.
Yes, I read about that too.
Right. Yep. Snickers paid $700,000 to get their domain name back.
Yep.
Yeah, this happens more than people realize.
Yeah.
And there are people that will literally sit on newly expired and buy them.
They'll wait. Yeah. They'll wait because that information is publicly available.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So, buy it. I would say buy it, hold it, investigate, and then see what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. One more? One more. My company, okay, I like this. These are a lot of trademark issues today. I feel good. I like the trademark stuff.
There's a lot of trademark stuff today.
Okay, so this is from AUIOS. Alios? How would you pronounce that? Alios? Alios? I don't know. AUIOS says, my company name is one letter away from another company that does the same thing. Concerns? Yes. Hi, long-time lurker here. I have a software consultancy and development agency company using a fake name for everything called, and he just names it, 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧. It's probably not real.
No, he said it's fake.
Yeah,
he's just giving us an
I grabbed this name back in 2015 or so on various websites and even the domain name for it. In 2019, a different company was founded using 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧, so basically added an L. That is a software consultancy and custom development company. The company trademarked the name 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧. In 2024, I officially founded my company 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧, without the L, and I've had all these 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧 names I've been using since 2015. So I have a lot more history using the name, which is one letter different. This year, I was filing a trademark on 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧. I noticed this company exists, and they do the exact same thing I'm intending to do. Any concerns? Yes.
Lots of concerns.
Lots of concerns.
We just had this conversation.
We did, but I'm curious if you know the rules.
I do.
Go ahead.
Well,
what do you think? What do you think happens here?
Honestly, I think that the company from 2019 that filed is going to retain their trademark. Okay. On a federal level.
Yes.
But he might have a case to use it on a local level.
Correct.
And I'm pretty sure that if he goes to try to file 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧, his trademark's going to get denied.
Correct. Everything's correct there. There's one caveat, however.
Okay.
One thing that may play into this
is that if he can show proof that he started prior to the other company and was visible online.
That is correct. He would have to be able to show that in order to be able to continue using it.
This is what we talked about in a couple episodes ago, is like post it on Facebook in a public post.
Right, exactly.
Because that right there is the proof.
Just having the domain, just using the email address, that is not enough. People have to know that, and that doesn't have to be a lot of people.
Damn,
but
I'm getting good at
you're
this
very
trademark
good at this.
stuff.
So you actually listen to what I tell you.
do.
It's amazing.
I do.
Yeah, people have to know that name was in play prior to them filing their trademark.
Yes.
Right? So if he registered it in 2015 but sat on it and didn't do anything until, he says now 2024, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose that name. You're not going to be able to use it because it's federally trademarked. If you have used it in the past and continuously used it, now it doesn't have to be every day, but if you used it in 2015 and hadn't used the name and had signed contracts with it and advertised with it, and maybe even just once a year.
If you had a website.
Website, yes.
You can use
use
way back when machine and show this was the first use of a website.
Correct. That's exactly right. Wayback Machine, exactly. So if that's the case, where you can actively show that you actively used the name prior to their registration, you still won't get the trademark, but you'll be able to keep the name in whatever areas you're currently using it physically. Right. Physical areas, not internet
So
areas.
basically, you've already lost the opportunity to register yours as a trademark now.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean that you have to rebrand because the trademark was issued.
Right.
So the other company probably would have known you existed on some level, and they decided to file with a K without.
Maybe not. Depends on what the actual name is.
Right.
Sometimes you spell something with an A versus an E, right? It still sounds the same. So again, we talked to this before, but you have to remember in trademark law, there's two rules: first to market and confusingly similar. Right? First to market is who was the first that the market recognized, not whether or not you registered it in 1963 and never used it and put it in an envelope in your drawer. Right? It's when was it first available for the market to see? And then is it confusingly similar? Right? Is it so close to another name that people would be confused by the two? And in this case, one letter off, absolutely. They would absolutely be confused by the two. So that's what it's going to come down to, whether or not he had the name in use prior to their registration.
But they already got their trademark approved, so there's no going back on that.
Right. The only time you can get a trademark, well, not the only time, but in a situation like this, the only way to get the trademark squashed, so to speak, is if he had registered the trademark prior.
Right.
And the examining attorney at the USPTO just didn't recognize that or didn't find it, and then he would say, "Hey, look, this is too close to my trademark. I want it squashed." And you can do that, right? Or canceled or whatever. I'm thinking subpoenas, that you squash a subpoena, you cancel a trademark. So anyway, or quash a subpoena. Anyway, so it's a long day. Anyway,
it's okay.
But he freely admits that he never trademarked it.
Correct.
So, and people, this is another reason why if you come up with a brand name, trademark it right away, right? After you do your research, if it's available, trademark it. Because it's only a matter of time. And here's another reason why, seriously. 20, 30 years ago, I still wouldn't recommend it, but it was okay to come up with a name and maybe not trademark it right away. Not 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, right? Nowadays, no, because every name in the world is taken.
Yeah.
They're all taken. Now people are just randomly typing letters on a keyboard to come up with a name these days. Making stuff up, right? Yeah. Everyone using ChatGPT or whatever to come up with brand names. They're all the same names. People are trademarking them one after the other. I promise you, if you come up with a name today, a unique name, someone's going to have it within 24 months. Someone's going to have the same name, and you're going to lose the trademark rights. So you got to trademark it.
It's happening faster and faster.
Every day.
It's also easier and easier to file trademarks.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because I don't have to file for a logo or any of this stuff. I'm literally just filing for the name.
Yeah. Just the word mark. Yeah. So please, if you're coming up with a brand name, trademark it as soon as possible.
And just do it in one category to start.
Yeah, just start in one category. Just start your main categories where you need to go. Yeah. That's it. So I'm sorry to say, Alice, or however you pronounce your name, unless you started actively advertising that name prior to 2019, you are not not going to be able to use that name. That's just the reality. So, all right. Good show, buddy.
It was cool.
It was good. It's a good one. Where are you going into this?
Picking up my kids.
Picking up the kids. Nice.
I think.
When's your next golf day?
I don't know. Based on the forecast, hopefully next Wednesday, next Thursday. We gotta see how
Did
the
I?
week
I
goes.
didn't get out with you this year, right? We didn't play this year at all, right?
No.
You're the only person. You're the last person I played golf with. So if I didn't play with you this year, I didn't play
So
golf this year.
it's been over a year.
It's been over a year. Yeah.
It's been like
I mean, I play once or twice a year anyway, but
I think June of last year. Then
that's probably it was some benefit or something.
no, it was our networking group thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Did I also play with you at some benefit, some charity fundraiser or something out in Montgomery County?
Oh, that was longer ago.
That was longer than.
Yeah.
See, I had all this stuff mixed up in my head. I have no idea. I don't know. It was a while ago. So, all right, man. Well, have a great day. We'll talk next time.
We'll see you.